Are you going to be able to take advantage of the surge that the market's going to produce in the next, 6 months? Are you going to be in a position to take advantage of it, or are you beaten down? Has that unwanted roommate that's in your head, you know who I'm talking about, who talks to you and says, you can't do that. You don't know what you're doing. You've lost so damn much money. You need to get out of this stock market. Well, the best buying opportunity is coming down the road, and you need to get in front of it. But can you? Can you get rid of those negative thoughts, those, I can't do this, I shouldn't do that, I screwed this up, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, she doesn't love me, she won't go out with me? Yeah, he's been around that long. He's been telling you, you can't, you shouldn't, you won't. That's your unwanted roommate. I'm here to tell you how to get rid of him, and get rid of him quick, so you can take advantage of what's going to come in the stock market in the next several months.
Best of Us Investors presents Carrie Griegmeyer.
Okay, let's get right into this. Unwanted roommate. What am I talking about? You have 90% of your conversations in your lifetime with yourself. That is, you say, what should I do about this? Oh, I don't think that's something we should do. I need to ask for a raise. No, you shouldn't. They're just as likely to fire you. That's your unwanted roommate. It's been there since your childhood. I didn't realize this until probably about 10 years ago. I realized that there was someone in my head who was holding me back, that I had all the confidence in the world, but they didn't. And I realized that doubt, that insecurity, that fear, that anxiety, all resulted from 10 days in my life. That's right. I sat down and I made a list of those days in my life that I remembered. I was able to create a list of about 75 days. Most of them were within the last year or the last week. I put that list away. I came back 2 weeks later and I said, let's make a list of the most important days in your life. I got it down to 20. I then refined it more, and I asked myself, what are the 10 days that formed my character? And I did. I swear to you, I came up with them. The most important day happened actually on May 3rd, 1953. That was my brother's birthday. We went to the hospital where my mother was. My mother had been there since the day after Thanksgiving. She had developed cancer. We didn't know what cancer was in 1953, but we went, and my brother was excited because it was going to be his celebration of his birthday, and we hadn't seen our mother for months. We went, and he asked her, do you know what today is? Well, I think it's Saturday or whatever day it was. And he got upset. He got really upset. And I laughed. She doesn't know it's your birthday. He slammed my head against the wall. It hurt. I started crying. I was, 7, 8 years old. I started crying. My dad, oh, you boys get out of here. We had snuck into the hospital because back then kids weren't allowed in the hospital. You need to get out of here. And my mother said, no, I want to see Kobe cry. That's what they called me when I was a kid, Kobe. I want to see Kobe cry. I was crushed. Bring him over here. I want to see him cry. No, my dad said, and took us down, put us in the car. I curled up in the back seat of that car, and I continued to cry. I cried for 60 years. Why didn't my mother love me? Why did she want to see me cry? That was the most important day in my life. There were 9 others. Until I reconciled that. You see, after she died in July, the following July, roughly 80 days later. We never talked about her death. I didn't go to her funeral. I wasn't allowed to go to her funeral. I believed she didn't love me. Several years later, I was convinced my stepmother didn't love me. So I carried those 2 days with me. I had other days that I identified. But once I reconciled it and said, she wanted to see me. She wanted to get every experience she could from me because she knew she was dying. Once I reconciled that, I was okay with it. But it took me over 50 years to get it reconciled, to understand who I was and how that affected me and how it shaped my form and my actions for the rest of my life. How I just could not conceive that anybody loved me. Hell, if my mother and my stepmother didn't love me, how could anybody love me? How could I get enough attention at any job that I had? I demanded attention. I was a strong achiever, but they couldn't have enough Academy Awards for me. So I sat down after I got that done and realized it, and I threw that unwanted roommate out of my head. And I said, I'm going to replace it with a coach. And so a lot of people say to me, Kerry, how is it that you are able to do a video every day? I said, I wake up maybe an hour before I get up, and my coach and I talk. And we say, what is it our viewers want to hear? What is it they'd like to know more about? And so I have this coach in my head that basically helps me move through life, because I honestly believe now I can achieve anything that I want. When I was a young kid, I couldn't read. I was the bluebird in the back of the classroom. I thought maybe it was some, learning disability. Well, it was. But I didn't understand that until I was 70 years old, that I was dyslexic. They didn't know what dyslexia was in the 50s and 60s. He's just a dumb kid. He worked his way through college, made something of his life, adjusted to his handicap that he didn't really know he had, a cognitive learning disability, and then all the shit that he'd gathered over those 10 days I talked about. But once I made that list, went back to Cincinnati, Ohio, actually interviewed my aunts and uncles, and asked them about the things to explain to me why this and this happened, and how it affected me the rest of my life. I then sat down about 4 years ago, and I said, I need to share that. If only I share it with the people that follow me, my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. I wanted to leave something behind so that people knew who I was and why I was the way I was, and maybe they could learn and be better as a result. So I wrote this book, Find Happiness by Discovering Who You Are and Why You Are You. And I want to share it with you because it basically freed me. It freed me of my unwanted roommate and all the doubts that I had. I have no doubts anymore. I can achieve anything I want to achieve. And I love the competition and the energy that I get from people that I share my experiences with. And this is something I want to share with you. It's available on Amazon.com, and I think it's $29.99. But I honestly believe if this is all I can leave you as I leave this earth, my life will be complete. Get rid of that unwanted roommate. I don't know how many people who have bought the book wrote to me and said, I have an unwanted roommate who has held me back and has kept me from achieving what I want to achieve. And then when I went back in my life and discovered those days that formed my character, that gave that unwanted roommate strength, my life changed. I want to change your life. In the description, I'll highlight the book, Find Happiness by Discovering Who You Are and Why You Are You. If you don't know that, if you don't know who you are and why you are you, you can't move forward. Hope this helps you. It'll help me if it helps you. I'll talk to you about something totally different tomorrow.